Hey, good evening to you. Good Monday evening to you. It is the 5th of June. Here in the United States, it is the 5th of June, and that is of some significance. I just kind of want to jump right into something because I think this is an important thing that a lot of people overlook. Certainly, I think I have a pretty smart audience out there on the internet, so I don't really count you in the ranks of folks who maybe don't know, but maybe you've just kind of let it get by you. But again, it is the 5th of June. In Normandy, France, it is the 6th of June. And it is the anniversary of the D-Day invasion, the beginning of what Ike Eisenhower called the Great Crusade to liberate Europe. It is in a war that literally consumed our entire planet. From some historians place its beginning in Manchuria in 1933 with the Japanese invasion there. Others say it was 1939 in Poland. Whatever your feelings on its exact start date, for over half a decade, our entire globe was at war. There was not a single place that was not touched by it. And the final nail in the coffin of the Axis in Europe started to be hammered home on the beaches of Normandy, in the fields of northwestern France. I've always kind of tried to take a moment to think about the significance of that day. Men much younger than me, barely out of their teens, who clawed their way ashore, who dropped out of the sky and grabbed on with their fingernails and held on for dear life for those first days, hours, to begin the liberation of France and the entirety of Western Europe following. So if you happen to follow me over on Facebook, and this is not me saying, hey, follow me, because I don't want necessarily to gain a bunch of Facebook followers or anything like that. I would much rather you watch me here on YouTube. But if you do follow me on Facebook, I try to do an hourly update from the 5th to the 6th of June, which means I'll pause a few minutes during my AD&D game tonight, which usually goes from 10 p.m. Eastern to 1 a.m. Eastern, to update the pictures that I put on my timeline. And yes, there are many repeats. Most of Robert Capa's footage and photographs were ruined. So there's not a lot of documentation of what happened at Omaha Beach, which is a great tragedy because, the men who landed there gave it the nickname Bloody Omaha. 2,400 casualties that day. Deaths, not wounded, deaths. And if it's something you give thought to, the historical significance, maybe you've got a lineal connection, maybe you have a grandfather or a granduncle, a great cousin many times removed, who carried forward in the beginnings of the Great Crusade, then hopefully you'll appreciate what I'm doing if you have a historical interest. But that's just something I wanted to share with you guys. I think it's of import, and you can kind of follow along. The timelines get a little bit janky, of course, because at about 5 o'clock, 5:30 this afternoon would have been when the first Pathfinder aircraft and the first waves of airborne troops began to drop. But of course, it was just after 12 midnight in Normandy. And technically, by the clock, it will be a few more hours before the landing craft infantry, the landing ship tanks start to arrive at their beaches. Juneau, Gold, Sword, Omaha, and Utah beaches. You had the Rangers assault the cliffs at Windaho to stop the Germans from bringing up 155 millimeter artillery pieces, which would have utterly savaged the entire beachhead if it hadn't been taken. So if you take a minute to think about that today, even if you don't go over to my Facebook page, even if you don't look up a single article about it, just keep the significance of today in mind. And it's not just Americans. I'm not John Wayne. I'm not like, well, we went in at Omaha and marched straight from there into Berlin. I'm not being jingoistic about it. It was the Canadians. It was the Free French. It was Poles. It was Czechs. It was British and Americans, and it was a combined arms force of United Nations, not the blue helmets. What it meant in 1944 is very different from what it means today. That these men, these boys who became men that day, young men who the totality of their life ceased to exist in a moment when a plywood and steel ramp opened on a flimsy little ship and they met eternity. Just take a minute to reflect on it this evening. So let's concentrate on something that we're fortunate enough to be able to enjoy, silliness and so on. So with that said, we've got some stuff to look at. As I said in the run up, we're going to take a look at OSE, and I have one of the webcams is on tripod over here, and you guys tell me if this is a let's see if this is a good look. So I turn that on, and what do you guys think of that? That's Old School Essentials. Now we're not getting into we're not getting into the specifics of everything. I'm not going to deep dive this yet, but I want to look at what is in this particular box. And I gotta get my glasses here. Mage's Musings, greetings, Sean. Hello. Okay, so what we have here in Old School Essentials, and I'll show this up this to you guys again. So we have there are 5 books in here, but I think the previous owner has packed this with supplements. It's got some interesting artwork on it by Mullen right on the front there. And it says, Old School Essentials is a role-playing game of fantastic adventure, danger, monsters, and magic. Founded in the tradition of the beloved 1980s fantasy adventure game rules, but presented in a clean, modern style, this game is quick to learn and easy to reference. Contained in this box are the complete core rules of the game, including the full selection of character classes, equipment, magic, monsters, and treasures for running classic fantasy adventures. Everything you need, all in one convenient box. And on the back, we have our contents. Book 1, Core Rules. Rules for Magic, Battles, and Exploration. I thought that said explosions for a second. Covering Dungeon, Wilderness, and Seaborne Adventures. Book 2, Classic Fantasy Genre Rules. 7 classic character classes, along with full lists of adventuring gear and rules for building a stronghold and founding a domain. Book 3, Cleric and Magic User Spells. Over 100 spells usable by clerics, magic users, and elves. Book 4, Classic Fantasy Monsters. 200 fearsome beasts and devious adversaries. Book 5, Classic Fantasy Treasure. Over 150 magic items. And this is made by Necrotic Gnome. I'm not sure if this particular presentation of it is still published, but it is a beast of a box. So let's take a look at it, and we'll look at each box as we go. One convenient box, I will give them, keeps everything from getting scattered around, assuming that you take the time to put everything back in the box. Convenience, however, is kind of questionable because, honestly, I have said before, and I maintain, this weighs about as much as a car battery. This is a heavy, heavy thing. Jimmy asks, is OSE the easiest entry for back me gaming these days? No, I still think if you want basic expert, the easiest entry point is to buy the PDFs of the Moldvay rules on drive-thru. Okay, so here's what we have. Nice solid box. Do you guys want the side cam where I kind of hold these things up? Is that something you guys want? I don't know. You'll have to tell. One single comment, and I'll put the side cam back up. Otherwise, I'm just gonna hold the stuff up as I go. So if a single one of you wants it, yeah, okay, Lightmane wants it. All right, so let's side cam. All right, Sean Rader. Okay, so sturdy construction on the box there, nice and deep. A little too deep to use as a dice tray. That would be kind of hard to see. But it's good pasteboard construction there. As I said, art's by Mullen on the front. And let us continue. I kind of got to put it over there, put it out of the way. So the first book we have, and these are like the size. First of all, these are almost OD&D sized, but the construction kind of reminds me of the little golden books we had when we were kids. But there is the core rules. The art repeats the cover. Lovely purple shade. This is a really lightweight book. This is, again, this is not a deep dive into this because I want to have a PDF to show you guys so we can kind of go along together. You also like seeing my profile. Well, that's pretty nice. Here, my state quarter profile, the Florida nerd. It's like an orange tree on one side and this on the other. But anyway, so it basically is the blurb that's on the back of the box. Pretty sturdy construction, no complaints about it. Decent-ish art. That's a lovely piece there. That's kind of neat. Yeah, it looks like a book designed for a small kid to read. Okay, so there's one. I'm just going to put these here, and then hopefully this won't fall on my foot, because if it does, I'll get demonetized with all the stuff that I will say. The Florida State grog nerd. Yes, that's me. And then we have classic fantasy, old school essentials, classic fantasy. If you're a fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender or just fantasy stories in general, then a city on the back of a seagoing turtle should thrill you. So yeah, this is character classes and equipment. That's kind of nice. And it's kind of nice. I'm getting a 5e art vibe out of this. I'll let you guys judge whether or not you think that's a good or a bad thing. And I'm guessing each volume has this in it, but here's the interminable open game license, aka the handcuffs you put on yourself when you create your stuff because you fall into the trap of thinking you have to. Oops, did I say that out loud? I said the quiet part out loud. And let's see. Oh, excellent, Vincent. That's wonderful. You will love World of Greyhawk. Okay, so cleric and magic user and, presumably elf spells. Herbie, why weren't you at elf practice? We have elves that sing and elves that dance. We don't need any spell casting elves. That's when he found out Hermie had multi-classed as toy making elf assassin. So yeah, here's basically all of your spells for that's quite lovely. We'll turn undead going on there. And what else? But yeah, this is hey, I think we got the dungeon minister here. You guys have seen him. Tell me that doesn't look like him. Tracy, you like it? And then we have the Book of Treasures. Which is kind of interesting looking. I don't know that she's looking at that axe or about to trip the light. Fantastic. I'll leave that up to you guys. Now, there's a big book in here. Rules Tome. And I think what this is a restatement of the core rules. It's got these bookmarks, silk bookmarks hanging down from it there. But this is titled Rules Tome. Contained in this book are the complete core rules of the game, including the full selection of character classes, equipment, magic monsters, and treasures for running classic fantasy adventures. The more I'm using it, the more I'm loving this camera. I just wish it was focused. I wish I wasn't in it, that it was just like focused on a spot that didn't entail me, and that I could just hold up the stuff for you guys to see. Yeah, this to me basically just looks like those three books in a single, and I can only presume the previous owner bought this and then just keeps it in there. There's a 2-page piece, some warriors fighting. See if I can find anything else good in there art-wise. Oh, this is quite lovely. I rather like this. Yeah, we're keeping this. We're keeping this camera. I'll figure out a better place to put it, but So yeah, there's that book. This is a good deal of the chunkiness. So we have 4 books, and then we have advanced fantasy. We have something here called advanced fantasy. What is advanced fantasy? So advanced fantasy says here, building on the character options in classic fantasy genre rules, this book expands the game with the option inspired by the 1970s advanced rules, carefully scaled to mesh with the old school Essentials game. 9 human classes: acrobat, assassin, barbarian, bard, druid, illusionist, knight, paladin, ranger. 6 demi-human race classes: drow, durgar, gnome, half-elf, half-orc, snirfneblin. Advanced options, optional rules to add extra depth to character creation, combat, and spell casting. Requires old school Essentials core rules and classic fantasy genre rules. Further advanced fantasy books in the old school Essentials product line: advanced fantasy, druid, and illusionist spells. So did I show that to you guys? So this is basically, no pun intended, this is essentially advanced Dungeons and Dragons for basic Dungeons and Dragons, the book. So if you're running, I mean, I think personally at a glance, I haven't looked through it obviously, but I think if you are running a basic expert game and you wanted to hybridize it or bring it forward into AD&D, and you already had your Moldvay and Cook basic and expert, you could probably pick this up and do a yeoman's job of porting it. All right, and we have the Druid and Illusionist spells. That's up next. And I think that's the last thing in this box. It is. But let's see. So I'll show this to you guys. It's just a rainbow in the dark. Sorry. So Druid and Illusionist spells, 34 Druid spells, 72 Illusionist spells. Requires old school Essentials core rules. Again, I think you could use it with Basic Expert. And how's the art in here? Sparse is how I would describe the art in here. They're small pieces, but they're in there. So this is what is in my my box of old school Essentials. Now I'm not gonna take that chalk and huge black covered rule book that is all of the core rules and deep dive that as well as all the others. That would just be completely redundant. Mage, there may be other books around here. Okay, there may well be other books. Jimmy says, I think they invented Svirfneblin just to make people say Svirfneblin. That's possible, I suppose. But anyway, so that's what's in our box, and that's what we're going to be going through when we deep dive these things. When we start this week. Oh my gosh, Lord Corion, hail and well met. The oft missed Lord Corion, finer than frog's hair, scarcer than hen's teeth, but we love you just the same. It's good to see you, my friend, and I hope things are going well. Let me know how well you're doing with a super chat. Just, I'll grade it. If it's $1, I'll assume things are bad. I'm kidding. But anyway, no, the old school Essentials set, we'll start deep diving this week. I have a feeling I have a feeling that this is probably going to be a fairly breezy read through. Now, someone had mentioned, I am glad you could be here too, Lord Corion. I really am. Paint Mini is live. Hello, good to see you. Oh, that brings up something else. I'm gonna get to that in a minute. I'm gonna get to that in just a minute here. I'm trying not to destroy anything as I put the car battery back where it belongs. But anyway, there's someone mentioned that the AD&D books in there are more like S&W Swords and Wizardry Complete than they are AD&D. There was this strange time in the history of Dungeons and Dragons when many articles had been published. All of the supplements for original Dungeons and Dragons had been published. Strategic Review, The Dragon, and even the Monster Manual had been released, but there was no complete first edition AD&D. But there were people who played with everything. They played with Greyhawk, with Blackmoor, with all of the optional stuff from the Strategic Review and the Dragon. They played with the Eldritch Wizardry. They played with gods, demigods, and heroes. They were essentially at that juncture playing advanced Dungeons and Dragons. But it could not be called wholly and entirely AD&D because there are stark differences. I mean, you might think it's a simple one, but it's not. And that is AD&D has armor class 10. OD&D does not. Yeah, it was a near TPK. The last man standing said he would just create a new first level character, and thank you. Thank you very much. And yeah, Holmes Basic, Matt RR Conductor. Thank you, Lord Corion. That's I gotta put that there. But the point is, also, I will assume a $10 super chat means you're awesome. But the point is, there was a hinterland between the end of OD&D and the beginning of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, where you weren't, you were neither fish nor fowl. That may be the same space that that those two AD&D books in the Old School Essentials set occupy. Sort of a mashup of the Strategic Review, early The Dragon, and so on, rather than them saying we are taking everything from and supplements 1, 2, 3, and 4. We'll see. We'll see. We'll just have to see when we get there. Now, about miniatures, let me pull something up here. I want to share this with you guys. Let me go over here because I can actually do things on my computer now without it catching fire. Thank you so much to our sound engineer Boganora for getting me an extra 32 gigs of RAM and making this workstation really work. It only had 16 before. I thought it had 8, but it was choking on 16. It was stumbling on 16. I did not put my processor upgrade in it this weekend. Proto AD&D, AD&D Light, or Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. But let me pull this up here in the community page, and I will then share it with y'all. I don't know why are my preferences not, let me see. Clips. Okay, I don't know what's going on with that. So anyway, a couple of weeks ago, a while ago, a short time ago, Paint Minis Live, who's a small website, check them out on YouTube. Paint Minis Live reached out to me and said, "That's your cue, Paint Minis Live." Oh crap, you can't hear me. All right. Paint Minis Live said, "Hey, we'll get a mini that you really want and paint it up and send it to you. In exchange, talk about us on the show." And then I played the Uno reverse card. And I said, "I'll go you one better. If you paint a miniature for me," and I put it up there, and I'm sure it'll look awesome. "But if you do that, I've got a problem, because then I've got another painted mini and nothing else here has gotten done. So all these minis that have been crying out," listen, you can hear them, they're crying out. Listen, shh, listen. "All these minis that are crying out for a touch of the brush still sit there undone." Oh, no problem. Thank you, Paint Minis. So we run into a problem. Yes, I would love to have lovely painted minis, but I have so many lovely unpainted minis. So I went to Paint Minis Live and I said, "Look, let's do this. I will put up a poll." That's how I got thrown out of the bus station, by the way. "I will put up a poll, and I will ask you, the chat, the audience, my subscribers, preferentially subscribers, I should point out, of some miniatures that I have, what would you prefer to see painted and sitting upon the shelf of glory?" And they Paint Minis Live said, "Yeah, that sounds like an awesome thing." Yes, Left Hand of Darkness. That's exactly it. So I made a community post, and I'm going to share that with you guys now. First of all, if you're not subscribed to my channel, please do so before you vote on this post. It carries a little bit more weight when it's subscribed, folks. So if you're not subscribed to the channel and you like this kind of content, you like banter, you like unboxings, you like stories, you like a little bit of history, never politics, unless it impinges on D&D, then please click the subscribe button, click the bell icon for notifications. Always leave a comment on the videos, be they studio videos or live streams. And then go vote. Rock the vote. So this is what I put up. This is what I offered. And now through the convenient process of clicking 7 times, I can share my screen with you. So here we go. Here is what they are. 131 of you have voted, which sounds like a lot, but I've also got 40-something hundred subscribers, so it's not that many. But anyway, here are the options. You're gonna open there? You're not. Okay. The Grenadier Hirelings set, the Grenadier Red Dragon's Lair, the Grenadier Wizard's Room, or, and I kind of threw this in to mess with y'all. Maybe if I do this. Good. Yes, that's what I wanted. Let's see. It's still not opening. Classic Games Workshop Deathwing Terminators, because I've told you guys how much I love the Deathwing. Heyo, Imperial Rambling. Speaking of the man who saved the show, the man with the ram. Thank you so much for that, Imperial Ramblings. I see what you did there. So anyway, those are the options. And so far, by and large, 131 votes. The Red Dragon's Lair has actually led the, no pun intended, has actually led the entire time. So if you're looking at those hirelings going, no, hirelings, the hirelings will be used every night, then, you know, get out there and vote if you haven't. Because right now, the Red Dragon is dominating all. And it's not gentle domination. And I'm just going to stop there because I'll get demonetized. But anyway, those are the options. The Hireling set, the Red Dragon's Lair, the Wizard's Room are the classic Deathwing Terminators, which surprisingly 13%, that's not an insignificant amount. So yeah, and I'll be honest. Do I have a favorite? Yes, I do. Will I tell you guys what it is? No, I won't. No, I won't. I won't even tell Paint Minis live which one my favorite is, because I don't want them to feel obligated. But get in there and select a set of minis that you really want to see painted on, and it'll get painted on. But I'm excited to have this done, and this is going to go for a week. So basically, I put it up Saturday night. I will announce the winner. This coming Saturday night, I will announce the winner. By the way, somebody, was it Vincent Notabartolo, asked about, yeah, Antonio, asked when Free RPG Day was, and I was a little crestfallen. Free RPG Day is on the 24th. Of this month. It is right smack dab in the middle of the Great Underground Online Gaming Convention. I usually like to go run an event, an all-day event at my FLGS, Gods and Monsters. They're not local to me. They're all the way on the other side of Orlando. But as it happens, my wife will be out of town. She will probably drive to get there. And the Saturn, unlike the Volkswagen, the Saturn I can rely on in an emergency, but only an emergency. And I'm certainly not going to drive it all the way across town and back and have something potentially go sideways with it until I can get its issues seen to. So I won't be doing anything for Free RPG Day, except running stuff for the Great Underground Online Gaming Convention, where you guys will be able to get free stuff from Hellabard and from Frog God, both of who are the sponsors. And I can hear you asking, I can hear you wondering, some of you speculating. It is such a loud speculation that I can hear it over standard TCP/IP without even putting my headphones on. What is the guac? The Great Underground Online Gaming Convention, folks, is a virtual gaming con. You can find it on warhorn.net. You can sign up. I think there's one spot left in the cash prize AD&D tournament. That's right. You heard me correctly. I didn't lie to you. Cash prize first edition AD&D tournament. Doomsword Deathmaster is holding a tournament, and you can win money playing at it. How cool is that? We've got Jack Photon, who has got some beautiful artwork, some amazing pieces of artwork that he's contributed. Frog God Games going to have freebies. We've got stuff coming from Hellabard, who are the sponsor of tonight's live stream, I should point out. Hellabardgames.com, old school goodness. They have a sale on their 5e print products. They're clearing them out. Use 5EOOP at checkout on their website to get 50% off. Hellabard Games. So yeah, I mean, just, you know, sign up on warhorn.net. If you need the link, I'll give you the link. What else good is happening? Guess what? Thursday, David S. LaForce will be in the house. Oh, now I can show this off. Now I can show, because I have camera number 2. The camera is number 2. So I'm gonna use the camera for good. I'm going to use the camera for the powers of good. Let me get the book. Or books. I gotta find this. I should bookmark this in here. So David S. LaForce, he did illustrate some great pieces in the Dungeon Master's Guide. We're big David S. LaForce fans around here. And I want to see if I can find this great drawing that he did and then share it with you guys. And then I'm going to show you something really cool. I'm going to show you something so groovy. You're going to be like, oh my God, that's amazing. I don't know. Maybe you won't. I don't know. Is it just before this? Maybe not. Maybe it is. Nope. Okay. I will show you the drawing that David S. LaForce put in my Dungeon Master's Guide back in 2018. So let's bring up the camera. I should make that like a fade in rather than just a snap in, so it'll look better. That's his signature. He took the time to draw that. And in Deities and Demigods, we have the similar next to Jim Ward's signature. He knocked out a little pen and ink dragon for me. So he's going to be here. TSR artist David S. LaForce will be joining us. The LaForce will be with us on Thursday night, 8 o'clock Eastern. So just like Errol, just like Darlene, they'll talk about their work with TSR, things they worked on after TSR, things that they've worked on recently, and things that they're going to be working on in the future. And I am so looking forward to it, and you should be too. And I would be willing to bet he'll have a link he'll want to share. So if you want to get some sweet David S. LaForce art, you'll be able to. So I'm pumped about him being here. And you should be too, because he seems like cool people. I mean, if he's willing to stop and just knock out that black and gold pirate chest in my Dungeon Master's Guide and the black and white dragon in my Deities and Demigods, who's to say he's not cool? So I hope you guys will be here for the David S. LaForce interview on Thursday. And of course, if you have any questions for Dave, Diesel, Mr. LaForce, DSL, you could, am I pointing in the right direction? You can ask over in the chat. You can just say, how things go at TSR, and he'll probably answer it. So I'm excited about that. And then of course, that's Thursday. Wednesday, hopefully Kyle will be back. He's got a lot on his plate, folks. He's got a lot on his plate, and we hope the best for Kyle, and we hope everything is going a-okay with him, and that he's able to sort it all. So if he can be here on Wednesday, that's awesome. And if he can't, we'll make fun. Okay. We do like us some Kyle Schuant round Casa Delve. So I'm excited about the rest of the week. Tomorrow night, after we look a little bit at OSE, tomorrow night, we're gonna play first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. I've got a crew lined up. We're playing Keep on the Borderlands. That's right, B2 Keep on the Borderlands. The party is pushing, I think, as the kids say today in combat-oriented games. They're pushing Cave A in the Keep. So come for that. Come and watch that. Because, folks, it's the live stream games that we run on this show. I don't sit down and say, okay, well, it's this season, so what? Is your character's favorite of the audience? So no, TPK. All right, TPK can just happen. Or the party could rise to greatness. These guys you're watching going through the Keep on the Borderlands in a year or so, a year or two, a year or three, could be the party that you're watching square off against Loth in the Demon Web pits. Think about that. Or they could fall to an ignominious demise. We don't do scripted events around these parts. I'm not fond of them. So it's amazing. And you should watch it. And then Friday, we'll do some more old school essentials, but also, that thing I was saying a few minutes ago about D&D and we don't script events, blah, blah, blah. Gamma World, same thing applies. In the parties in Disney World. Yeah, Kevin, keep on the Borderlands. That's right. Kyle does have a great RPG out. Kyle has Conflict from Flying Mice Games, which you guys should all buy a copy of. Lightweight, combat-oriented TTRPG. So yeah, you should you should check out the show. You should check out what we do. We do we do awesome things, and I do keep it real. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I'd rather have an audience in the thousands and do exactly what I want to do than an audience in the millions, where I basically get dragged around by chains by the exigencies of what appeals to an audience, Speaking of which, Because I know sometimes you guys, and not always, I understand, not always, but I know sometimes you guys like to know how things are going, how things are doing. We're 4622 on the sub count. That's kind of nice, I think. 4622, you know. We're not going to get to 5,000 by the guac, which is in just a few weeks. Because if we had, you know, would have been celebratory and that sort of thing. So, you know. But we'll figure out something fun to do. Maybe next year, maybe Wizards of the Coast will keep screwing up and drive my subs up to the point that by next January, we're to the point where it's like, you know, oh, well, we're at 10,000 subs. I guess I'll have to start planning an in real life convention. Highest rated is fairly subjective. Most played, I think it probably is by dint of inclusion in Holmes Basic, Moldvay Basic, and whatever it was Frank Menser did. And Return to the Keep on the Borderlands entailed Keep on the Borderlands in its totality. The Silver Anniversary box from TSR has a copy of Keep on the Borderlands in it. And it has the Holmes Basic rules. You can, if you wanted to spend $50 to play basic D&D back in 1999, WotC/TSR, because this was during the transition of power, had you covered right there. So it is probably I would say it's probably the most seen Dungeons and Dragons module. In fact, when I tell people that I bought a copy of Keep on the Borderlands just off the shelf, their eyes kind of bug out. They're like, what? You didn't just get it? Everybody got a copy of Keep on the Borderlands. Not me. I bought it off the shelf because I thought it was everything you needed to play. Don't talk about that left hand. Don't say that word. You'll get me demonetized. Oh, your tailbone. Okay, yeah, that's different from what I was thinking. Never mind. Lightning says yes, mostly because it was in one of the box sets replacing B1. Yeah, so Holmes Basic went through the following iterations. The initial Holmes Basic had a set of dice, Dungeon Geomorphs, the rule book, Monsters and Treasures assortments 1 through 3, and had a lizard logo cover. Then I believe, and look, if you live on the Achium, don't at me if I'm getting this wrong. I believe they went Paper Chits, Monsters and Treasure assortment, Wizard logo, and Dungeon Geomorphs. Then I believe they went Paper Chits, B1, and Rulebook. Then Paper Chits, B2, and Rulebook. I don't think we ever got the Moonface logo. But I think after they went with thank you, IR. Thank you for hanging out with us. Yeah, I distinctly remember it being a Puma in my copy. See, the copy that I bought, serendipitously enough, I mean, the whole purchase was serendipitous, right? I got the book, I got the module that had the rules for learning how to play D&D baked into it. But it was also the version for Holmes Basic. So I actually had the version that would dovetail more neatly into AD&D. The outdoor geomorphs are out there if you know where to find them, Christopher. Do you mean outdoor geomorphs walled city or outdoor geomorphs just outdoor terrain? Because those things, I don't think that those are like pure, unrefined unobtainium. Like you're not going to find those. Now, Matt, our conductor, you bring up a good point. Gary has told me, or Gary did tell me, there was never a dice shortage. It had nothing to do with, there's a shortage. We get these from Europe. The shortage was that there was an oil crunch and plastic cost more, and the Blooms wanted to charge you for dice. So that is when I had to explain. What year was what? When I bought Keep on the Borderlands, my parents bought it for me in 81, I think. But the Holmes basic set dropped in 77. You could get that bad boy in 1977. When it was 81. It was 81 when I bought a physical copy of Keep on the Borderlands. And it referred to chaotic evil, chaotic good, lawful good. It had Holmes style rules and directly referenced Advanced Dungeons and Dragons a few times. There's an N in it, zoinks. This without knocking myself off the internet. Here we go. Zoinks. Yeah, I was posting. I posted up something. I was feeling a little melancholy the other day, and I found like a picture of a movie marquee, and I think it's somewhere out in the Southwest. And the picture was obviously taken in 1977 or possibly 78. And it was, it was like a triple movie theater. And it was like the movies that were showing were Star Wars and some other great 70s movies that came out around that time. And I just looked at the picture and it just made me so melancholy. This, strip mall, pure 1970s vibe. I posted it up and I said, did we know we'd be the last ones? Did we know what we'd lose? And I feel that a lot of times. I feel that. And I followed it up with a picture of the theater where I saw so many movies when I was a kid, when I was living in Gadsden. The Agricola Twin, kind of an island in the middle of a strip mall parking lot, the Agricola Twin. And we saw Star Wars, Black Beauty, Pete's Dragon, Star Trek the Motion Picture. Others, I am entirely certain. I just can't remember them off the top of my head. And it's abandoned now. Well, I shouldn't say it's abandoned. It's shuttered completely. It's not used. It's just a gray concrete building with the remains of the marquee on the front of it. And guys, I'm talking about 1970s that I used to go to this theater, and I posted that on Facebook, and I said, when we went for the last time, did we realize we'd never be coming back, and did we know what we'd lose? And someone responded to the Twitter post with, please let me go back. I don't like it here. And that, it was kind of silly, but it really got me. I definitely felt where the dude was coming from. Please let me go back. I don't like it here. And I get it. I get it. I absolutely get it. So, when you say that, Light Main, 100%. Anyway, so probably going to wrap up here, unless anyone has any questions, comments, or anything like that. We will be back tomorrow at 8 o'clock. We'll start digging into Old School Essentials if I can find a nice PDF of it. And then at 9 o'clock, we're going to play some first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. So you guys have an absolutely wonderful evening. Yes, question from a viewer. When were the first models for D&D produced? First man. Okay. All right. Paint Minis Live is added. Hold on. So fantasy miniatures were not really a thing probably until 75-ish. We've done deep dives on Dragon Magazine. Jeff N4 Pod show wrapping up now, unfortunately. Off to play Me Have Stick second edition. Hey, that no fair. Me no authorized second edition Me Have Stick. You want Me Have Stick? Gmail me. Me send you copy. Me Have Stick. Original reductivist role-playing game. Paint Minis Live. So they started out the first models for D&D. The first models for D&D where Gary took 54 millimeter elastomers and used auto body putty to modify them. Those were the first minis for D&D. Those were the first fantasy minis. When he needed halflings, he used 20 millimeter Robin Hood figures from Airfix. Those were his halflings. So that's there's your answer. When were the first ones for sale? I'm not sure who got theirs out first. We could probably dig through Dragon Magazine to find out. I mean, there were probably boutique companies that made King Arthur and his knights and maybe a dragon, but orcs, goblins, hobgoblins, that sort of thing, probably not till 75 at the earliest. And they were kind of nasty. I've unfairly slagged Grenadier minis as not looking good, but in retrospect, you paint them nicely, they do hold up pretty well. A bunch of those that were like, they weren't doing spin casting. They're just doing pour casting and then tap the molds and maybe pour in a little more and tap the molds. The Chinosaurs. Owlbear, Rust Monster. Was it Owlbear, Rust Monster? And Bulle. I actually have a plastic Bulle around here. I'll show you guys one day. But those came in a bag, and you could buy that thing until like the early 2000s. The company in Hong Kong that made them was still cranking the damn things out. But now getting it, because they went out of business, and they just, don't give a shit about nerds from Wisconsin or anywhere else. But because they're out of business now, like a plastic owl bear from that bag will set you back like $100 on eBay. It's nuts. Or I could print one out for you if you want. But that's another matter. Heritage, Heritage probably was the first. But I mean, I would say it was probably guys just using Napoleonics, Oh, my general with this sword out like that is my fighter. Okay. All right, that is it. That is it. That is where I'm going to wrap up, guys. I got to get ready for tonight's not broadcast AD&D game. Have a wonderful evening, guys. And I ask you, I ask you guys, and I didn't even, because I was the Dungeon Delver. An important question, because we just mentioned the poor critters, and my question to you as we take off tonight is, have you seen my owl bear?
Have you seen my owl bear? Here's to all the weirdos everywhere in the woods and in the air. Have you seen my owl bear? Should I shave off all my hair? Bobs are all around. Some live in tunnels underground. Some are fat, some are rich, some are sleeping in a ditch. Can you ride a crooked horse without a saddle way off course? Naked as a toad all the way to Smoky Joe's. Have you seen the little creep driving fast in his little green Jeep? He smells like fish and brandy, but his rotten teeth look dandy. Take me to the show, I don't care if fast or slow. From action flicks to dancing dicks, just take me to